Well, folks, we had him on not that long ago, and we were questioning when he was going to figure out a way to finally win. And he said, give me one, give me one tournament, sir. Give me one tournament. Ezra Robinson, the champion of your Discraft Supreme Flight Open. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
We're doing good, man. Happy to have you on here. We knew we'd have you back on here, just didn't know it'd be this soon. I got to ask, though, my first question I got to ask you. We've talked to Isaac Robinson. We've talked to some of the other people that are like in your vlog squad or whatever you guys want to call you. I don't know. I can't keep up with what you guys are calling yourselves nowadays. But when you guys all practice together, it's almost like you all decide like, oh, this guy's going to win this weekend. And like you guys were all saying that last year with Isaac at Worlds, saying like, all right, well, I'm just going to try to play for second because he's going to win. Did that go down in your practice rounds this week? Did everyone look and go, well, Ezra Robinson's winning this one. I guess I'm playing for second.
No, not at all. Actually, I think I made a couple story posts about how the practice rounds were going, and I didn't win a single one, except for like the last practice one we had. So I was losing. I lost like 3 or 4 in a row. So definitely they were not saying that at all.
You slow played everyone, is what you're
Yes.
telling us. You slow played
Yes.
them. All right. Well, let's kind of just go and break down a little bit of the actual round itself because it was an impressive win. It was by all means a very impressive win. So I kind of just want to get a little bit of your mindset of like what was going on because first and foremost, let's just talk about you've been in this spot many times, right? You've won many tournaments, but you just haven't won on tour. You've been on tour in a spot to win. What are the thoughts walking up to that first tee final round? What's going on?
Well, being 3 back of AB after he just smoked the course 2 days in a row. It's just like I need because I all I can do is expect him to do the same thing for the third day. So I was like, I need to come out smoking hot and get in the driver's seat quickly. And then so I teed off on hole 1. And I was telling people I was like, I need to look confident even if I'm not confident. Because just looking confident can go a long way, and it can kind of mess with the other players' heads. At least that's what people have done to me before. So I know it works. And so I was very shaky, but I was able to look pretty confident, and then missed the putt on hole 1 to start. I think it was like a 45 footer, but I was like, okay, I can't do that. Like that's not how you're gonna win. And then AB gained another stroke on hole 1, so I was 4 back with 17 holes left to play. And I was like, this is not great odds, but I was like, I got to keep my head up. I can't, just accept defeat, especially with Paul and Ricky right behind me. I was like,
Yep.
one bad hole, and I'm getting 4th place, So just taking it one hole. I really took it one hole at a time. I didn't let myself look ahead at all. I would just get up, throw the tee shot that I needed to do, make the putt I needed to make, and then go to the next hole. I wasn't thinking ahead. It was so hard not to just picture the win.
Okay.
Early on, especially after hole 4. I had a 2-stroke lead or a 3-stroke lead after hole 5, and that was like I was 4 back going into hole 2. And so like I never thought that would happen. And then it was like, oh my goodness, like this could actually happen. And so just reining in the excitement, reining in the all the feelings and what it would mean to me to win, I couldn't even think about it.
Is that something that you have struggled with in the past? Is like, oh, I got a little lead here, and then visualizing, celebrating with the boys, and is that something that you've honestly like struggled with?
I haven't really been in I've had the lead kind of position before, but like definitely I think at Beaver State last year when I got second to Gannon and missed I think I missed a 50-footer to push the playoff. That was definitely one where it was like, oh my goodness, I'm like in the mix, I'm in the running. And I was like, okay, this could be awesome and all of that. And I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit there. Same with really Champions Cup. When I had a chance to win Champions Cup last year, I was like, Isaac has won this tournament. It would be so cool for this to be his first major win and then it to be my first major win. And I really lost focus of what I was doing that final round. So yes, it has bitten me before.
So I remember the one that stands out to me was what you're saying was Champions Cup, but the at Northwood, right? So last
Mhm.
year, I remember there was multiple shots, like one or two down the stretch that you hit early. You know, you missed your gap, you hit something early, and you were visibly upset. And it seemed like you weren't able to get back into the rhythm that you had previously in that round.
Mhm.
I never saw that in your final round. So did you ever make a shot that you in your past would be like, this is when I would normally lose it? Or did you just play so well that you never even had to deal with that?
Yeah, kind of both. I knew I love listening to the commentary from the DGN from Jomez afterwards. I listen to what they're saying about my game,
Mm.
and they have a lot more insight on my game, just different views of what I think, right? And so I think somebody said, I forget who it was, but it's like if he can stay calm and collected, like we see him get pretty. I love the game. I have
Mhm.
a lot of passion for the game, and a lot of times that gets me into trouble. I get heated. I shank a shot and then just like give up almost, or like have that where it's just like I get in my head a lot. So knowing that and them saying that and me hearing that, I was like, okay, well that's something that I normally do. So that's something that I need to work on and make sure that if I do get in a position to where I shank a shot or I'm in the junk, then I keep the level head. And luckily, the final round I wasn't in a lot of those places, but I was
Yeah.
definitely prepared for that. And especially the second round, I started off so slow. Second, I was even through six, and I had shanked so many shots, and I was like, just keep your head in the game. You got to keep it cool, which I think I was proud of myself for doing because I had struggled with that so much in the past.
Who started on? Because I saw that when Isaac's round was over, he kind of jumped on your bag, or maybe wasn't carrying your bag, but he was there kind of as the caddy role.
Mhm.
Who started on your bag?
Nobody.
Oh, so you just went solo, and then Isaac kind of when he came on, was there anything that he was helping you with towards the end of the round?
Just literally letting me talk,
Okay,
letting me
so just
talk,
having
letting
someone to talk to.
right because I would talk about my shots. Like I would be like, oh, I gave that a good bit, or oh, and that forehand on 14, I was talking to him. I was like, dude, I suck at forehands. I'm like, I'm gonna hit this tree, or that tree. Like I have no idea where this is going. And then like just talking normal stuff and not letting it all get in my head or anything. And so I probably said so many random things just because I couldn't stop to think. Like I
Yeah.
just like had to be talking. So he was super helpful for the last five holes. That was really awesome of him to come out. But I wasn't gonna let him carry my bag because I was
You didn't want to
just
mess
in
it
the group.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I rarely ever have a caddy. I really prefer to just carry my own bag.
So after I'm curious about this because this is how it felt me watching it after the fact was after Paul kind of had that blow up hole one. In my head, I was like, okay, it's either going to be A, B, or Ezra. Like that's just who's going to win. Did you feel that too? That because initially getting on that T pad, you got AB who plays this course better than anyone as of right now, right?
Mhm.
Then you've got Ricky who played it second best last year. Also, is probably one of the me and Yuli talk about this all the time. Probably one of the scariest guys to have chasing you down. And then if it's not him, it's got to be Paul Macbeth chasing you down, right?
Mhm.
We've seen him do it time and time again.
Mhm.
So was there a little bit of that, or were you not even like thinking big picture of like, oh, okay, now at least Paul and Ricky are kind of out of the question. It's just me and AB.
First of all, I would be the biggest idiot in the world to ever count Paul and Ricky out from anything. And that's something I learned really, really little watching them play. I was like, no, you can never count them out because they will always get you. So definitely not. I knew. I mean, I had a couple strokes on them, and I really just the problem with me in the past is I play other people.
Mm.
I see somebody and I play again, and then if they start popping off, then I get discouraged. But if I just focus on playing myself and throwing and hitting my gaps and just worrying about what I'm doing and just letting everything kind of fall to the side and not worry about any player, Like I wasn't worried about catching AB. I knew what I needed to do for my game, and so I was just chipping away as well as I could. And yeah, things ended up in my favor. So like I wasn't playing any of them. I was just playing the course and like my own game.
Yeah, I think that really shows. Yuli, I don't know if you picked up on that too. Watching, there was a moment in time where everyone, like the odds of Ezra winning the tournament would have been like minus 5,000 or 7,000 with like 4 or 5 holes to play, right? The odds would have been heavily in your favor, but like I didn't notice a change in how you were playing. Like you were still playing, like throwing your shots aggressively. And I think that's a huge thing. Like you were saying, like you never were looking at what other people were doing and then adjusting your play based off of that. You just were freaking full tilt until the very, very end. Even on the hole 18, like there was no reason for you to have to throw that second shot. You could have easily just chipped and gone up there, right? But you're like, why not? So yeah, it was really fun to watch.
Well, typically what I've noticed in the sport is when somebody gets their first win, it's normally not like a close call. They normally win by a bunch. Because
you were saying that before the round.
Well, I mean, even look at Isaac. When he won Idlewild, he ran away. When he won the Champions Cup, he ran away. When AB won last year, it was a 1-stroke win, but he had a 6-stroke lead with only a few holes to play.
He kind of bled it off at the end, yeah.
Yeah, but he still had all those strokes, you know what I mean? He gained like that big old lead. I feel like that's like the classic way for a new player to do it, is because you get burnt so many times from somebody by you not having a big lead, and then the pressure gets on, and these guys know how to close, and then they bite you. And so I was not surprised in any way, because as soon as he gets the lead, he knows. And Ezra, you can interrupt me if I'm wrong, but I can't change anything. I got to go full gas the whole entire way. I got to birdie every single hole because I've been burnt before with this. And I mean, that's exactly what you did. But let me tell you this: that putt you made on 4, you're a psychopath, dude. Like straight up. Next time, lay it up and get the 3, bro. Get the 3 strokes.
The camera, for those that weren't able to go to the event or haven't played there, the camera doesn't do it justice. No. If he misses metal there, he is 100 feet away from the basket and potentially OB.
Oh, he's out of bounds.
Potentially OB.
Ask him, if you airball that with the power that you putted it, where's it going?
It's going off that little bank and probably rolling over the fence.
Like do you have to, like, was that one of the moments where you had to like center yourself and calm yourself down? Because obviously you throw a bad shot, you miss a putt, you're going to be like animated, got to calm yourself down. But is it also too when, holy crap, AB just had a blow up hole and I just made maybe the best putt that we're going to see for quite some time this year? Like, how does that work to going into throwing the next tee shot?
Yeah, I mean, running that putt, like I said, I wasn't really playing AB or anybody else. I was playing my own game. And if people know how I play, if I can see the basket, I'm running it. And I knew even if I had missed and taken a bogey, 3-putted, that's still 2 strokes and we're tied, which is way better than I, imagined to be. So, and I was like, I'm not scared to make this, and it was a straddle knee putt, and I'm like, I can't even throw this that hard. Like I can't get enough power on it to really go anywhere. It probably still would have if I'd missed, but it was just like a more confident, I can kind of just float it up in there and see where it goes. So it wasn't like a full send putt either. But yeah, and just being able to get that and then have a 2-stroke lead going into hole 5 and then stepping up and parking hole 5 and then seeing him yank it to the right again. It was just like, okay, anybody can make a big putt, but like if you don't follow it up with the next tee shot, like AB did on hole 9, he threw it in from the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Got up on 10, shanked it to the right. And I was like, okay, and so I was able to capitalize on hole 5. And as soon as, the momentum on hole 9, I was like, oh boy. I was like, now I'm only 2 ahead, and he's got, when he gets going, he gets going. But as soon as he stepped up and couldn't follow it up on 10, and I, pretty much parked it, I was like, all right, we're good still, So I think being able to make a putt like that and then following it up with a park job on the next hole is like just nailing the coffin kind of thing.
How was the switch after hole 5 where that was the moment I think you went from being the underdog of potentially winning the tournament to being the favorite to winning the tournament. Was that kind of felt, you think, by everyone on the card of like, oh wow, like now we have to chase down Ezra?
Maybe. I don't know. All I know is I am very new to
that feeling
and being able to win. And like Paul said, I don't know how to coast into a win. I've never done it before. This is the very first time I won. And so all I knew was like, oh boy, I got to keep going. Like I cannot let them catch me. I got to go for everything. I got to, still, I have to be even more aware because I could, it's a temptation to get lazy. Honestly, like you get a lead and you're like, okay, start smiling, whatever, and get, kind of lazy with it and lazy with your shots and not really caring. And I was like, I am not going to do that. I can't do that. So yeah, I mean, it was even more pressure to keep going well because I was like, don't you dare lose this because you became comfortable or something.
That's so interesting because sometimes we hear people when they get a lead or, they're feeling the pressure, they get tight, right? They get like super tight, but you're the opposite, saying that like you're feeling like, okay, I put the work in, like you're having to fight like, no, job's not done. Got to keep going. So that's an interesting contrast. You mentioned it earlier. It took 14 holes in the final round, but we finally saw the forehand. You had talked a little bit too about us saying that was a part of your game that you were trying to develop. What is your goal with the forehand? Do you want it to be just strictly a utility shot of where, all right, I don't have a backhand, I have to throw a forehand? Or are you actually looking to develop it into a way to where you can turn it into a weapon and actually use it on maybe a forehand, a hole that has a forehand advantage?
Yeah. First off, playing with Paul, Ricky, and AB, who all have some of the best forehands in the game, it's very tempting to want to perfect my forehand to that level. But honestly, I think it would take away from my backhand. And right now, for my game, it is super easy, very, very easy decision for a backhand or a forehand. There's no question. It's probably always a backhand. But if I have a really good forehand and a really good backhand, that just brings way more options and questions into my mind on what I should throw on a stock shot. And so I would almost prefer to not have a good forehand and just perfect my backhand. And I think that's helped a lot with the backhand. And but being able to throw a forehand if I need to, like that shot on 14 or a shot on 6 on the second round. Yeah, just scramble and not be counted out from a forehand. If I have to throw a forehand, to know that I can still get a birdie, that I can still save par. But other people don't know that either.
Yeah, Yuli, what are your thoughts on that, Yuli? I mean, we've got Ezra here, one of the best players in the world last year, getting a win this year. His brother, very similar player, doesn't have a forehand that's going to wow anyone. Are people maybe training not the proper way to be the best they could be at disc golf?
Well, no, I think he hit it on the point. I think he hit the point like perfectly. What I have seen with people like himself or his brother who are all backhands, and then they try to put a forehand or even a new putt in your game. What I've seen the struggle of that is you're so used to scoring a certain way, and when you put something new in, it messes up the rhythm of the way that you've learned to score. So, like, let's say he's like been practicing. I'll give an example. He's been practicing the forehand for the whole off season, and he's super excited to use it in the tournament. And there's a forehand only hole, and he knows he can throw the backhand, but he's like, no, I'm going to throw the forehand. Like, I practice it. It's time. He's thinking about that going into the hole. And that's something you should not be thinking about, right? To where before you would just be like, okay, no, I'm just doing my thing. I get to this hole. This is what I know. And you keep going. And the rhythm to us to the game is it's a scoring game. It's not I have all the shots game, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
And I've had that same thing with like my putting, switching my putt. I had to understand like I'm going to be thinking about that a lot, which means I'm going to be struggling more on the putting green, and I have to learn a new rhythm of scoring because of my thought process was locked in before. I knew I missed these certain putts, so my brain automatically blocked those things kind of out, kind of like being like, okay, we don't care, we're still scoring, we're still good, or whatever. You add that to your game, and now you're like, oh, that's the spot where I've just learned, and now you're kind of wishy-washy. So anything that you add to your game, it just takes a lot of time, and you have to kind of sneak it in there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. All right, Ezra, I want to talk a little bit about course records with you, and what you think should or shouldn't happen in the future. Because you have, I believe it was AB and who was it? Was it Paul? Who shot the course record in round 2? I think it was AB and someone else. Can't remember who the second person was. But you end up beating the final round and having the course record. Do we need to get these courses like more locked in? Because the way that like courses are ever changing, pars are changing, holes are changing. Like it's really hard for like a course record to mean anything if it's like constantly changing from year after year. So what are your thoughts on the course record? Because I do think it's like a good stat to have, but like I had a course record on a course on the tour. So it only lasted a couple hours, but I had one for a certain point. So you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we get this to be more meaningful to where like 10 years from now, someone's like, oh my gosh, someone finally broke Ezra's course record at here.
Mm-hmm. This might sound bad, but I don't actually care too much about a course record.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, because the way for the last, few years I've been on the road, we're switching up tournaments. Sometimes we don't even play the same tournament. We're switching up the courses all the time. So when I've been part of the game, part of the tour, there's, we're switching it up. So there's never really been, a course record that, sticks. So it's never really been something in my head that I think about that I want to preserve, just because I'm so used to everything changing all the time. But I'm sure back in the day when, they played, the same courses a lot and there wasn't a lot of change to the courses, I'm sure that meant something. But yeah, I mean, I would say just for the weekend, it's cool to have the best, hottest score for the weekend. That means a lot. And then people can go look back at that, like, oh, what was a hot round at this course on this tournament on this weekend? So that's cool. Like, I'll always have the record for the 2025 Supreme Flight weekend of the tournament.
But do you think it'd be cool if, obviously Paul was talking about before the tournament, like there's still going to be a lot of changes to this course. It's not done, but let's just say hypothetically it was, and this was the course. Don't you think that is something that maybe not to you, but don't you think that is something that other people would like appreciate, like a good statistic, a good stat to have down the road if it was hypothetically the same course year after year?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it was the same course, no change, then yeah, it would be cool, because every tournament there, that would be the goal to beat and compete with. And even if it was just like a local pro tournament, not a pro tour or an AM tournament, they'll see, what a touring pro shot and what the record is, and then see how their game compares to that, or how close they get, and that could be encouraging and all of that. So it's the bar to set, which is really cool. But unfortunately, I think where disc golf is going with all the course changes and all of that,
it's gonna be a while.
It's gonna be a long time.
I think it's a cultural thing. That's the reason why it's not like important. It's because everybody's so obsessed with ratings. Like, people look at your rating and they're like, oh, well, he didn't shoot 1100. Like, as soon as we start actually caring about what the par is,
the scores,
and what the score is, that's when it will become important. Because, for example, in golf, when somebody shoots a 64, we know exactly what that is. It's within one stroke of every single course out there on the planet. And 59 is a 6 score to look for. Somebody just did it this last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And that is incredible. In our game, everybody's so infatuated about ratings that you can. When's the last time somebody ever said, like, oh, yeah, he shot a 52?
No, I don't even know.
Never.
Like, Ezra, do you even know what you shot?
Couldn't tell you.
See, like
here's what's crazy.
That's the wild thing.
We play a scoring game.
And no one knows what their score is.
Nobody know what their score is ever. They think their score is 5 under, 6 under, whatever. Yes, that's what your end
in relation to par.
Is.
Yeah.
Yeah, relation to par, but your score should be the actual number. Like I shot a 60 the last round. I look at my scores. That's what I shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So funny.
The par's a 65. If I shoot a 55, that's a 10 under par. Mm-hmm. If we had a better relationship with our courses to where we had par 65 courses, we had par 67 courses, and par whatever. Now all of a sudden you go to this place every single year and you look at, okay, the par's this. I know a good round's a 55. You don't think about minus this or minus that. You don't think about any of that. You think about, what's my score? Who cares about ratings? And then your course record actually probably means something, because if the place has been here forever, they'd be like, well, what's the course record? You're not going to say a minus 12. You're going to say it's a 52.
Yeah.
Now you're going to try to get a 52, not a minus whatever.
I remember too, my first 2 years on tour, I remember too, like going to a course and someone being like, oh my gosh, this is a par 68. Holy crap. And like people looking at the par and using that as like how hard the course was going to be. So if it was a par 68, they're going to be like, oh my God, this course is going to be so hard. It's going to be so long. And I'm like, that doesn't really make any sense.
It's a culture thing, man.
You could have a par 54 and have it be extremely hard with every hole being 550 feet. But yeah, it's just kind of where disc golf, I guess, was and maybe where it is going. So, all right, Ezra, before we let you go, though, I do have a couple questions.
Okay.
Did the milk help at all get this W? There's been a lot of chatter about the milk. We got to know, was the milk helpful?
Absolutely, hands down. I don't think I would have even sniffed a win without the milk, especially the whole milk that they gave me while I was up there. Actually, got to drink a lot of that, and just went straight to the bones, and was able to just strengthen everything, and able to hit the gaps better. I credit all my success to the foundation milk.
All right, I got 2 more questions. One, this might be a hard question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. We ask the hard questions on this podcast. How many wins do you think you can win this year?
Ooh. I'll tell you what. I have a little bit more fire in me, knowing that I can. I am not going to get ahead of myself. I'm not going to get cocky. I'm not going to assume that I have a chance every single weekend, because that's just not true. I've proven that I can, and proven that I am an elite level player, but there is 50 other elite level players out there playing every single weekend who are just as hungry as I am. I will continue to put all the work I can into it. I don't want to get lazy just because I've accomplished my goal so early in the year. And like I said, all I want to do is win more, improve over and over and over again. But it's going to require a lot more focus on it. Honestly, it's going to require more focus than
the second one might be harder than the first one, honestly.
Exactly. Because I put so much focus into getting a win.
Yeah.
Now that I have a win, I need to focus up even more to get more, because I've already accomplished my year goal and it's week 1. So I quickly need to nip that in the bud and stay focused and go out and practice even harder, because I want to win more. I think I love the Waco course. I'm so glad we're just playing Waco 3 times instead of the Lake Waco or whatever.
Yeah.
And I my game fits that course very well. So I'm hoping to do well at that one. But yeah, just taking one tournament at a time and not getting ahead of myself.
Love that. Any new pet peeves after playing your first tournament? Anything pop up after this weekend?
I hate my putt. I missed it to the right. That's annoying.
That was actually a question I didn't even ask this question. I think you might be the best creative putter out there. I think you and Ricky might be top two of like the camera, Joe Mez, DGM, whatever. Like you can barely even see them, but there's a really good chance the putt's going in.
Yeah,
but you hate your putt, so there you go.
I mean, when it's on, I like it, but I'm never I am very nitpicky. And I yanked quite a lot of putts to the right, especially during the second round. And I missed. It's not perfect, and I know it's very nitpicky, but I need to figure that out.
So your biggest pet peeve is your putt.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, just the ones I missed right, because I'll yank it 5 feet to the right, not even hitting metal. And from like 30 feet, it's like, what? You can't do that. I mean, if there's a drop off, I'm gone because I'm running it. I'm running it.
We know that's not true. You had 100-foot drop off and you made it.
See, some are great, and when they go in, it's fantastic. But it can't let me down in those moments, because knowing me and knowing my putt, I am going to miss a 25-footer at some point, a couple times during the round, or a 20-footer. That's just going to happen. And so ironing that out and making sure that is not an option for, coming down the stretch for a win again or something like that. But I don't know if that's a pet peeve that I can.
Well, that's a good. Hey, your pet peeve. Anything else, your pet peeve is your pet peeve, brother. Your pet peeve is your pet peeve. You got it.
I got nothing, man. I'm happy. I'm stoked.
All good.
Yeah. I'm all good, man. I'm stoked. I'm happy for you, man. Incredible finish. You're poised, you look confident, and you won by a lot of shots, and I think you got plenty more in front of you.
What's the relationship with the brother now? Has that changed at all? The dynamic at all?
Last year, I would be the first to tell you, I am so happy for Isaac in every single win, and I've been there every single time. One of the first people to give him a hug. I love that Isaac has succeeded so well. Genuinely, I have been looked as the younger brother, which is totally fine because technically I am, but kind of like the in his shadow just a little bit, and it's a great shadow to be behind. That's awesome. I'm like I said, way prouder than anybody else for him. But with being with a new company, with him being on a different company, and me coming out of the gates, beating him by a good bit, and just kind of smoking him felt really good. And but like, just to be having won an elite series like he has, I think once everybody wins an elite series, you're up here with everybody else. You have Paul Macbeth, you have people who have gone up another step. Isaac with 2 world championships and a major is climbing up there. Gannon's climbing up there. I'm not on Gannon's level. I'm not on Isaac's level yet. But I can compete with them every single weekend because we're all elite level players. But yeah, I think I'm no longer looked down on in a way of, oh, but he hasn't gotten a win yet, can he even win, kind of thing. In which it's a weight lifted off my shoulders, honestly. And like, I don't think I think it's more respectable to say I've won on the Pro Tour. Just because it's so hard these days. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, fine. I said I already had my last question, but this is actually the final question, and we'll let you go.
Okay.
What happens now that you have that W? What happens now when both Robinson brothers are on lead card? Who gets the dad caddy?
Oh, dad caddies for Worlds. He's caddying for Isaac.
Locked in.
That's locked in. I ain't even playing with that.
Okay.
I think my younger brother is going to come over and caddy for me.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. And, I will say my dad caddied for me in the performance flight of the USDGC several years ago.
There you go.
And it wasn't good.
You're going to leave it at that.
That's all we got to say.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Ezra, Milk 1, Isaac 0 to start the season. We will see how that pans out as it goes on. It was fun watching you play, brother. Myself, including with thousands of other are listening right now, super happy for you. And like Yuli said, I think this is just the beginning. So really excited to see what you have left for us this season and look forward to it. And we'll see you in Texas, man.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
All right, brother.